YouTuber. It's Multiplier here. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking looking at the title of the video. You're thinking, no, Multiplier's lost his mind. He's a maniac. He's a lunatic. What is he on about with his t-shirt and stuff? There's a good reason for this. Now, I've been asked on no less than 6 occasions in the comments below why I always wear the same t-shirt. And there's actually a very good reason that not only applies to day-to-day life and all of existence, but also music production. Let me explain. It's all down to something called autopilot, basically something you do without thinking. You do many things in day-to-day life literally without thinking at all. Your brain is just doing it without you really worrying about it, while your thinking part of the brain, the conscious part of the brain, is focusing on something else. For example, driving a car. When you're on the motorway, when you're the freeway in America, I think they call it, the big roads with all the cars and stuff, or a smaller road actually, any road with cars on, you're driving down the road in your car. Maybe you're listening to music or talking to your friend in the seat, or maybe looking out the window. Hello, cows, or other animals out the window. Basically, your subconscious part of the brain is focusing on driving, how fast you're going, what the road conditions are like, how far away you are from the car in front, where the road is going, even the route home if you're driving back from work or whatever. So your subconscious part of the brain is doing the entire job of driving, freeing up your conscious part of the brain to talk to your friend or listen to some music or an audiobook or look at some cows. And this even includes directions if it's a journey you've taken many times before. You're not consciously thinking about, do I go left or right or straight? You just do it because you know the way, your brain's just doing it in the background. Autopilot. Autopilot. Like flying a plane. A simple example, unscrewing something. When you're unscrewing the lid off a thing with a lid, then instinctively you just unscrew it. You don't have to consciously think, right, I want to take the top off, therefore, do I look at the grooves and work it out, or do I just remember using thought? Is it lefty-righty, loosey, righty, lefty? Which way is it? It's all down to biological efficiency. It's not an efficient use of our brain power and our brain resources to keep solving problems that we've already solved in the past, whether that's a simple problem like unscrewing the lid on a thing with a lid, or a more complicated task like driving to work or driving to the shops. If it's a problem we've already solved in the past and we've solved it efficiently and we're happy with the result, then we can commit that to autopilot and then our brains can do it automatically. Therefore, and here's the important bit, if we've already solved a problem, if we've already solved a simple or a complicated task in the past, then we want to commit that process to autopilot because it's already a solved problem. There's no point in solving it again and using up a bit of brain. Our brain is a resource that must be conserved. And so, how does this apply to t-shirts and to music production? When it comes to t-shirts, at least, I have decided I like the way I look. I have 2 pairs of jeans, 4 to 5 or 6 t-shirts, all very similar. And all the t-shirts are, because they're very similar and the jeans are very similar, they all work together. And that means when it comes to getting myself dressed in the morning, I don't have to put any thought into it. Literally no thought at all, because all my clothes are basically the same and they result in me looking basically the same every time. I know without thinking that if I just wear my normal jeans and one of my normal t-shirts, I will look super awesome, or at least satisfactory. I'll look as good as you can make this look. I've solved the problem. I've decided what do I want to look like. I've chosen this for whatever reason, and then I don't have to think about it. Ever. And that's the power of autopilot. Even though it may not seem like a very big deal to spend 30 seconds or a minute deciding in the morning, right, what thing do I wear today? That's a distraction, and that's using a bit of your brain, interrupting maybe another thought process, whether that's a deep thought, a deep analytical thought that you're being amazing about, or it could even be you just relaxing or enjoying a lovely view. All of these things are better if you don't have to think about something pointless. Sounds like I'm joking, but I'm not. If you apply this concept to everything in life, from choosing a parking space at the shops, or buying ketchup from the shops, or getting new tires for your car, or other things in your life, basically you want to be in control of what you put on autopilot and what you don't put on autopilot. For an example, don't be on autopilot when having intimate relations. Right, let's apply this to music production. So, for example, Example one, you're making a tune, you got a kick drum in, you got a bit of a bass line, and you're like, cool, next step, open hi-hat on the offbeat, on the 8ths. Command T, drag sample, Command D, 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 and so on, and so on, and so on. That's the sort of thing I would do on autopilot, because inserting a simple hi-hat on the offbeat doesn't require a lot of thought. It's a solved problem. I shouldn't have to think about, right, I'm inserting an open hi-hat. Do I want to use a sampler? Or do I want to use a simpler or a sampler or an impulse? Or do I even want to use a plugin? Or shall I use audio clips? Now I'm using audio clips. Audio clips. Do I want to maybe consolidate a bar and then maybe duplicate the bar? Or maybe take the bar and then set that as a loop in Ableton and then drag the loop. So many different ways. There's probably 10 different ways to insert exactly the same open hi-hat in Ableton, and it doesn't matter which one you use. Because each of those, say, 10 ways gives the same result, it doesn't matter which you use, and therefore don't worry about it, just stick it on autopilot. Whereas, for example, maybe you're in a bit of a sound design creative rut. You're trying to make a bass sound for your dubstep track or whatever genre, and you always seem to make the same sort of sound and you just get stuck in a little bit of a rut. Now, there's a good chance that the reason you're in this creative rut is one or two of the, or maybe even three of the parts of your bass sound design process are on autopilot. Maybe you're using Massive and you always use Massive to make your bass sounds, but you always use Performer to do the modulation. Try going off autopilot. Try instead doing the modulation with an LFO or an envelope or a looped envelope or even just automation in your DAW. The key thing here is look at your process, look at how you make music and figure out, right, are there any parts of this process that are on autopilot? If so, think about it. Is that a good use of autopilot or a bad use? Think about it with your brain. Makes sense? Fantastic. And that is why, in a roundabout way, I always wear the same t-shirt. Autopilot. I'll catch you guys on the flippity flip.